Hey guys, it's Scott. In this video, I want to take a look at a contender versus pretender breakdown for the 2023 Kentucky Derby. After doing some study, once the last few prep races started, I've been watching a bunch of replays, looking at a bunch of speed figures, even did the mile per hour thing for Equibase. So for this one, I'm just going to try to say, what I think, if they can win, if they can lose, contender, pretender. So we're going to start with the number one horse, Forte. He's a points leader, won the Florida Derby, won the Fountain of Youth. He's one that right after the Florida Derby, I originally, knocked down on my list. But as I've got to watching more and more, replays, especially the Fountain of Youth, I thought he ran a really good race. And then in the Florida Derby, he drew that bad post. And, it's kind of tough to say, just how good he really ran in the Florida Derby. I want to say that it was, impressive. But at the same time, you got to remember the horse might have, saved a little bit left in the tank for the Derby just because you don't want to shoot your best shot, before the Kentucky Derby. That's the ultimate goal of every horse. So for me, I'm willing to say that Forte is going to take a step forward off that Florida Derby effort and probably get back towards more of the Fountain of Youth or the Breeders' Cup effort. And if he can do that, certainly makes him a contender in this race. And number two is going to be Practical Move. And I'm going to take an aggressive stance with him and say that Practical Move is a pretender. And I personally think this horse has some distance concerns. He's by Practical Joke, who is a one-turn specialist. He didn't really win anything at 2 turns. In the Santa Anita Derby, he almost lost to Mandarin Hero. Like, if that race would have been under 10 feet, I think Mandarin Hero would have won the race. So I think Practical Move, going further, Mandarin Hero from the research I can gather is not considered like on the A team of Japanese horse. He's more of on the B team. So for that reason, I'm going to bump down Practical Move to pretender. And for my exotics, I think I'm going to play against them at all, leave him out of all 4 spots, try to maybe take a shot, throw a long shot in there to take his place. So that's how I'm playing Practical Move in the Derby. And then number 3 is Angel Empire. And Angel Empire's improved leaps and bounds as the season's gone on. For me, he's a major contender. He won the Arkansas Derby, won the Risen Star, got second to Smarty Jones. So, every step of the way as the distance got longer, this horse is improve more and more. So, I fully expect him to fire a really good effort on Kentucky Derby. Given that this horse loves to run all day, let's say this horse finishes like 4th in the Derby, I can certainly see Brad Cox, skipping the Preakness and this horse being one to watch out for in the Belmont. So, that's just kind of looking ahead. But for me right now, he's a contender for the, Kentucky Derby. He's going to be on all my tickets and all 4, wagering spots. And the number 4 horse is going to be Tapit Trice. And this is another one that, the more I've looked, I originally didn't like him after the Tampa Derby effort, and then, at the bluegrass, I think, the more I look, the more I think the effort was better and better. He did have a 4 furlong workout today that caught the attention of Brad Cox, so that says something that another trainer, mentions that horse, while he's talking about his horses. So, take that for what it is. I'm going to label him as a contender right now. And, for me, it's going to be in all 4 spots. And I might even give some really strong consideration of bumping him up to the 1 spot, right before Derby Day. I'm still debating. And, that's where I rank Tapit Trice. And number 5 is Two Fields. And for me, Two Fields is a pretender. But I will have him in my 3rd and 4th spots in my superfecta. I say pretender because, the Risen Star, he lost to Angel Empire and Sun Thunder. I did get second though with Comp. In the Jeff Ruby Stakes, he ran a really good race. He technically has the highest buyer of all the 3-year-olds, but that race was on synthetic, and there wasn't much that he beat in the race. So for me, I'm just going to leave Two Fields, put him in the 3rd and 4th spot. I'm going to leave him out of the win, and that's how I'm going to play Two Fields. The next one's going to be Lord Miles, and Lord Miles for me is just a straight pretender. I think he got, winning the Woodward Memorial is probably the highlight of his 3-year-old season. It didn't look good in the Holy Bull or the Tampa Bay Derby. He did get 3rd in the Mucho Macho Man, but the Wood Memorial I think is always normally comes up a weak field, so I don't think he's going to be there when the real run starts in the Kentucky Derby. Number 7 is Thermoseta Gokey, and he's the ultimate wild card horse for me. I could see him, this horse, running away and winning the race, or I could also see him finishing off the board. What I don't like is I think everybody's going to bet this horse. So that's going to kill some of the value. Like I think 10, 15 to 1 be good fair value. And I'm wondering if you might see like 5, 6 to 1, which, kind of takes away some of that risk reward. But you certainly have to, respect the Japanese horses. And he will be in, all 4 spots in my ticket. I'm not playing against any Japanese horse in the Derby this year. They will, I will have some exposure and they will be there. Uh, Number 8 is Kings Barnes, and I don't really know what to do with Kings Barnes. He looked visually impressive in the Louisiana Derby, but also keep in mind that was a very slow paced race. I'm gonna have him as a contender for now. He doesn't need the lead. In Tampa he ran off the pace, and in the 1 mile, his maiden race at Gulfstream, he also ran off the pace. I actually had a good education that race, running in behind horses and coming up, down the stretch. So, I think Kings Barnes either be a pace setter, or if the pace is slow enough, he can outright get the lead again. But nonetheless, I like Keen's Barnes for the fact that his running style fits. There's not really a lot of he's speed where there's not a lot of speed. So for me, he's a contender and will be in all 4 of my spots this year. And that brings me to number 9, and that's Reys Kane. And I think Reys Kane is a cut below some of the top horses. I know he won the Gotham and got second in the Gun Runner, but I think he's still a cut below. I might put him in like 4th place in my superfecta and hope he can get in there. But all in all, I'm gonna play against him for 1 bet purposes. And we're gonna get to the next one. And that's Rocket Can, and uh, Rocket Can might take a little bit of money because of the whole Country House, winning the Derby 2019. He's certainly been solid, winning the Holy Bull, got second in the Forte and the Fountain of Youth, then 4th in the Arkansas Derby. But I think in the Fountain of Youth, Forte just passed him, real easy. Like it was, you could clearly tell there was one dominant horse in that race, and it was Forte. So I still think that Rocket Can is a cut behind, these top horses. But I'm going to put him at 3rd and 4th in my superfecta and hope that he can get in there and fill it out. And then number 11 for Hit Show, I'm going to have him as a pretender. Listen to Brad Cox talk. He's a little high on the horse. This horse did win the Withers, got second in the Wood Memorial. But I don't think I can back a horse in a Derby that lost to Lord Miles. So for me, he's going to be a pretender. Confidence Game. I think Confidence Game, he'd be kind of intriguing. I might be tempted to put him at 3rd or 4th. He does have a lot of time off, and he last raced in February. And I don't like seeing that for the Derby where horses, are coming in off of, long layoffs. You kind of want to be peaking at the right time. And certainly I don't think this horse, being that long of a layoff would be considered peaking at the right time. So for that, I'm going to, leave him off. Like I said, I may put him in 3rd or 4th. I'm not sure. But for one purpose, he's going to be a pretender for me. Verified number 13. This is one horse where, the more I watch the race, the more, like, I have a lot of respect for this horse. Like, I wasn't originally too pressed as a bluegrass effort. But, after going back and rewatching and knowing that, Brad Cox in Essential Quality to Keeneland back in 2021, you got to wonder if this horse, might, Brad Cox might think really highly of this horse. He did get 4th in the Rebel with a, trouble trip, 2nd in the Champagne. Just kind of always, been there, never really won. He did win an allowance race earlier in the year, very impressive. But, if this horse could take a step forward, he's certainly going to be a front runner or pace pressure on a speed scenario lacking that. So for me, he's going to be a contender, and he'll be in all 4 spots in my superfecta. Number 14, Sun Thunder. I'm not a big fan of Sun Thunder. I think I'm going to leave him out of everything. He did get 2nd in the Risen Star, 5th in the Dirt. That was a really slow-paced race. And then 4th in the Bluegrass. I thought the Bluegrass was just an average pace race, not fast, not slow, just average. And, I still think he's a cut below some of the other horses. Certainly I could see him, on a real lucky day, maybe jumping up and getting 3rd or 4th. But given I don't want to make a $500 ticket for the Derby, I'm gonna leave Sun Thunder off. Wild on Ice. I know he won the Sunland Derby, but for me, he's a pretender. Mage, number 16. He's gonna take a lot of money because he got 2nd in the Florida Derby. He's actually 1st, turning for home, and then he had that trouble trip in the Fountain of Youth. But I think Forte is still better than this horse. He certainly could take a step forward and do something for Kentucky Derby. But for my hard-earned money, I'm going to play against Mage, and for me, he's going to be a pretender until he's going to have to prove it to me. You're going to have to let some horses just beat you because you can't cover everything. And for me, that's Mage. I think he's going to take the sucker money, and the risk rewards is not to my liking. So for me, Mage is off. Number 17, Blazing Sevens. I like the horse if the track comes up, muddy. He'll be my one of my long shots in there for that to get in the superfecta. But other than that, he still needs to improve a little bit. For win bet purposes, I'm going to label him as a pretender. Like I said, muddy track, he's going to be on my tickets. Number 18, Disarm. This horse kind of intrigues me a little bit. I got him as a pretender for now, but I don't know if I want to leave him out of my superfecta because in the Louisiana Derby, he was closing in a race where there was, not much pace going on, and he got by Jason Road and got up for second. And then Lexington, they cut back to a mile and 16. I feel like this horse is going to want more of the mile and quarter type distance. So if he can close, and he's owned by the same, owners that for Epicenter last year. So I got him as a pretender, but he will be in my superfecta. And number 19, Reincarnate. He's going to be a pretender for me. And then number 20, Continue for, the Japanese horse. And this horse will be on my ticket. I don't care if he's ranked number 20. I don't care if he got third in the UAE Derby. I think he got fifth or sixth in the Saudi Cup. But I'm sorry, no Japanese horse can be left off my ticket this year. I do feel like their time is coming where they're going to do something. You can kind of see the progression throughout the years in various other races, and then seeing what Man and Hero did. Like, you'd be a fool to leave them off your tickets. And I'm not saying go put $1,000 on a Continuar, but certainly in your exotics you need to put him there somewhere. So for me, he's an ultimate wild card. I'm going to say Contender, but certainly if the horse fell out, I wouldn't be shocked either way. That's kind of how I view these Japanese horses. You have to label them as contenders, but there's certainly a high risk you could get burned. They're the ultimate wild cards of the year. But that's my contender versus pretender breakdown. And thanks for watching, guys. More to